In this video, we're going to learn Basic Knife Skills 101. The first skill is to place a damp paper towel, or if you do have a silicone mat, underneath your flat cutting board. So we wet a paper towel, and then we place it underneath the board. And what this does is it keeps the board from slipping while you're cutting. So it's definitely a good safety idea. Now that the board is secure and in place, we're going to focus on how to sharpen your knife. I have this, which makes it extremely easy to do. So what it is there's a coarse and then a fine sharpening area for your knife. So you're going to basically run the knife through it about 20 times, which I won't do right now because that will take up a lot of time from this video. But so you would run it through 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then you go to the finer, 1, 2, 3, and each one about 20 times. And you're going to want to basically wipe down the blade, so this way there's no metallic residue left. So that's one way of sharpening it. And then, actually, what you do is you take a dishcloth and put it down, and you take this, and you could do this, and this brings the blade back to the center, which makes it actually even sharper. So you can actually do it the fancy way that people do all the time, but it kind of is pointless, where you run it through like that. It looks fancy, but you don't always get to the end of the blade. Now, the proper holding of your chef knife is exactly like this. This is the way to do it. When I first started in the kitchen, the owner of the restaurant asked me, "Do you know how to hold a knife?" And I chuckled and thought to myself, "What do you mean? You hold it by the handle." Well, actually, you kind of hold it by the handle, but this is the correct way to hold your chef knife. You take your index and thumb, and you pinch the blade. And then you wrap the rest of your fingers around the knife handle, just like that. What this does is it creates better control over the blade itself. So that's how you hold your knife. Now with your other hand, you're going to want to use your knuckles, and you want to tuck your pinky and your thumb underneath. So you basically have something like this, and make sure your fingers are tucked. Once you have this technique down, it is almost impossible to cut yourself. I can say I've cut myself maybe 2 times in about almost 20 years. So in this case, now that you have yourself all set up, you're going to want to do a choo-choo train motion where the tip of the blade stays on the board. So you're holding your knuckles against the blade, and be aware that your knuckles are against the blade, because if you feel them move and you're not looking, you'll know and you'll stop and you won't cut yourself. So in this case, we're going to do the actual motions. It goes like this. So you keep it on the board, and it's like a choo-choo train. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can use these knuckles if it's more comfortable for you that way. I tend to want to use these because I feel like it's safer for me. But now you have a great range of motion that will actually help you cut things safely. And that sums up our knife skills video as far as the proper use and technique of how to hold and use your knife. Also, make sure that you never run your chef knife through the dishwasher. Just rinse it and dry it off by hand. Running it through the dishwasher actually dulls the blade, so don't do that. Next, we're going to learn how to chop and dice. Stay tuned. In this video, I will show you some simple dicing and slicing techniques. Here we have our squash. First thing to do is cut it in half. Make sure you're holding your blade and the handle the correct way. Cut off the end. Now don't throw these pieces away of any of your vegetables. What you can do, whether it's a squash, whether it's onion, whether it's a garlic piece, whatever it is, put it in a Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer. So this way, when you're ready to make stocks and sauces, you have all of your vegetables ready. And because they're in the freezer, it starts sort of a slight breakdown process. So if you're in a rush, it actually is softer and cooks quicker. So there you have your pieces. And if you want them to be exactly square, you can trim off the extra. And you can use this also, or if you want it to be exactly uniformed, put that in the freezer bag. Now, what we're doing, you can do with any long and rounded shaped vegetable. So this would be the same for carrots. It'd be the same for almost any vegetable that you cut this way. So now you group them together. And then you use the technique from the first video, and you go like this. Now, I could be fancy and go very quickly, but I don't see the point in that. So there you go. Here you have a rough dice, which is basically used for most of these recipes, so it's not so technical. Now we have an onion. Now, this took me a while to learn how to do. So first, you want to break through the skin, and then you can peel it, because that cut just like that makes it easier to peel. And like I said, these pieces that I'm peeling off, save them in your freezer, and you can use them for soups and sauces and a bunch of different things. Okay, and now you cut it in half. And then cut it in half again. Now this technique took me forever to figure out how to do, but it's actually pretty simple. You use the tip of your blade, curl your fingers under, and just give small slices, and don't cut all the way through. Leave a little bit of space at the end. And this is the best way to dice an onion because it's very tricky and it's hard to do any other way. So now we've done that, we rotate it, and we cut again. And you just would continue down. But look at that. Now you have the smallest diced onion ever, and it was easy to do. Feel free to play the video over and over again to watch it and to master the technique.